Writer's block is a double whammy for a lot of indie writers because not only can it afflict you during your creative process with your novel, but writing for marketing is also a very creative and open-ended pursuit. And in fact, I think a lot of authors have more writer's block marketing than they do writing their novels. So I'm going to talk today about just 10 quick ideas that can help you change up your process and get out of writer's block. These are things that work for me or other authors that I've heard. First, just get a change of scene. That's always helpful, especially if you're inside writing a lot. You might not be getting enough sunlight, you might not be awake enough, you might not be, you might just be tired, your airflow if you're hunched over, and your blood flow might be kind of low, cut off. Just, standing up, getting outside, getting a change of scene might be able to get your body more active and your brain working. 2, change your physical state. Now, like going outside, getting a change of scene can definitely be a part of that with more movement rather than sitting in your chair. But there's other things you can do specifically to change your physical state. Actually, taking a cold shower is one of those things that, bam, I forget whether it was anxiety or something else, but they're actually saying like the physical shock to their system is helpful for just shutting down certain brain states. But you can do this with meditation, with exercise, you do something swimming or cold shower related, you could do this listening to music, however you want to change your physical state. Generally speaking, if you can, figuring out ways to get better sleep or eating better, more generally can also help your brain function better. Drinking lots of water if you're dehydrated, but just think about changing your physical state, because a lot of times when it's hard to think, it's because your brain is really low on energy or out of whack or something, low on oxygen or sleep, etc. So, number 3 is have fun. I love the question from Tim Ferriss when he said one of the things he does when he gets stuck is, what would this look like if it were fun and easy? And so a lot of times especially if you're a perfectionist, you're setting really high bars for yourself. So if you loosen those bars and say, instead of producing what I think I need to produce or should produce, what would this look like if it were fun and easy? I'm going to quote Paul Simon a little bit because I've been reading about his writing process recently. But one of the things he's saying is he says, more recently I've been interested in what I discover writing versus like specifically really trying to go for a certain effect. He says maybe he doesn't know whether the quality is better or not. It's just more fun for him when he's writing in a discovery-oriented fashion. And I'll talk about how he does that personally in another one of these steps. But, that's important. Don't just flog yourself for not being good enough to put words on the page. That can be a negative spiral that just compounds things like anxiety and depression. Ask, what would this look like if you were geeking out about it? That's kind of my mantra with marketing. How can I make this look more like geeking out? One of the reasons I do that is because I used to be really down on myself about marketing. And then as an experiment, I just tried marketing something I enjoyed that wasn't for a business product or project. It was a Discord D&D server, and actually really quickly grew it to 100 people. And so I ran that for a while, and it was fun, and it taught me marketing does not have to be hard. A lot of times I'm making it hard. So yes, if you want to make more money, support yourself by doing it, you have to learn marketing, but the marketing doesn't have to be a chore. Figure out how it can be more like geeking out for you. Rather than feeling like a slimy salesperson. And I guarantee your marketing writer's block will clear up. But if you're stuck in a story, the same deal. I bag on, the Moby Dick for changing genres, but on the other hand, it has stuck around as a classic. So some people do like that. The changing up from a historical framed narrative to Shakespearean soliloquy, if that's what he needed to keep it fresh, I'm still saying I still think it's probably not ever going to be really a popular success, but people have held on to it. So and if changing up is what he needed to do to finish that novel, then the world has one more quote-unquote great novel in it, because he was willing to do what was fun, what was inspiring, rather than just sticking with something I guess he might have felt stuck in. So, shrugs. All right, number 4, time box yourself. This is one that I found really interesting that I'm doing with videos, or trying to do more with videos, which is I haven't been good at this week, I'm trying to limit myself to video production during certain hours. And I actually find that once I tell my brain it's not allowed to do video work anymore, it comes up with a ton of video ideas. And in the weeks where I don't time box it, but like I work later on video projects, I spend so much time on editing that I don't give my brain time to think up ideas. So like limiting yourself, you want to still keep pencil and paper, like a notepad or something, or take verbal notes on your phone or something, so that you can track the ideas that you get. You don't want to lose them. But it's funny how much telling your brain it's not allowed to work suddenly can kick it into, hey, but I've got ideas, come on. So time box yourself, limit the amount of time you spend writing. Especially if you find yourself doing longer and longer sessions with like no clear start, no clear end, and burning out, like time boxing is the best thing you can do for yourself. Number 5, do the thing but for somebody else. So stop writing for yourself to get out of your own head. Write for someone else. Promote somebody else's book. Instead of writing your novel, write a scene, write fan fiction, whatever it is, like just get out of your head doing it for yourself. This is one, I've done this with marketing. It's been helpful as well. It's one of the reasons why I like helping other authors market, is because I learned so much by doing it, without all of like the mental gymnastics that I confront with like my own internal perfectionism and imposter syndrome and everything. Like it's actually a lot of fun to do marketing when you don't have all of that anxiety gear like clicking in your head, shutting down your process, or perfectionism, things like that. Hey, quick interruption. So my mission is to fix the internet for sci-fi and fantasy creators and fan bases. I think there are reasons why it is so hard to build a following and support yourself. Mainly that like most websites aren't built for building communities and fan bases. They're built so large websites can advertise to your audience. And so that's just hugely broken and insane. It should not be as hard as it is to create a following and support yourself on creative work. That doesn't mean everyone's going to get there, but I would like more people to be able to support themselves with their creative work. That's my mission. This channel is just the beginning of that. I want to build better websites and tools. If you like and subscribe, you can help me build the channel and more quickly get to a place where I can build you tools that will make this whole business of writing thing easier. So please, like and subscribe, share. That's great. That too, yes, please. Or tell me, if this video is not good enough to earn your like and subscribe, tell me below in the comments what I could give you that would be more valuable. Thanks. So 6, immerse yourself in the work of a master. So, and this is kind of similar to doing it for someone else. It's just a little bit more consumer oriented, right? It sounded kind of pretentious at the time, but I remember like a new hot new thing author discovered by NPR or whatever, who was saying that one of the things they did as a kid was they literally typed out their favorite novel word for word because they wanted to know what it felt like to type that novel. And, the cynical person in me is like, yeah, but that's not how it felt to type that out, because they didn't sit down and type it as written. But that idea, sometimes that's, go immerse yourself in a really good book. Just read it, love it, and then, if you, for extra credit, write what you liked about it. And then maybe take that as an idea back to your writing later. when you've in your time box writing period. So that was 6. Immerse yourself in the work of a master. And master, I use master liberally. I love very many pulp, creations in videos, and books, and comic books. So, just someone who does something that you admire is what I would call a master for the purposes of this. 7, this is an interesting one coming from Paul Simon in his writing. When I was looking up how he wrote You Can Call Me Al, because I came across a YouTube channel that told me the story of You Can Call Me Al, and I thought it was interesting and kind of strangely compelling. Number 7 is compose in your head while you do something else. And so it's kind of like, normally I don't encourage people to multitask, but what Paul Simon was doing is he likes to write lyrics while throwing a baseball against a wall. And so it's something simple enough, it's almost meditative for him, but it allows him to be more playful in how he thinks through lyrics. And so what he did, rather than like sitting down and trying to create that in the guitar very intentionally, is he recorded a bunch of music in South Africa, brought it back, and was kind of listening to it and noodling around, and while he was throwing a baseball against the wall, or tennis ball or something against the wall, and just playing around with it. He wasn't trying specifically to say something with the song. And so I thought that's interesting. And so this kind of, again, this can be a part of change a scene or change your physical state, but maybe there's something else. It could be sewing or crochet. It could be throwing a ball against a wall. One of the things I've been doing in evenings while I'm thinking about things or listening to things while I'm gathering some of these ideas for the channel is working on my kids' Halloween props. So where do I have that? 1 second. So it's messy, but I've got this wizard staff that I'm working on. So you can see this latest attachment that's glued on. I didn't have enough wire. What I want to do is get a glowing sphere at the top of this, cover it in wire, and depending on what my boy wants, then make the wires look a little bit more like tree branches hugging the glowing sphere, or leave them as wires, just depending on what he looks for. But that was there's a piece here that's made of foam, so shaving away the foam at the top to fit the staff, or like creating ridiculous amounts, like a good chunk of this top thing is not half of it, but a good chunk of it is like hot glue. So just layering with copious amounts of hot glue to kind of shape it out, to flare it out so it can support the orb has been fun. And so yeah, like craft things. Idly playing an instrument while you write could be something for writers. Anyway, that's a bunch of ideas, but you get the idea. It's going to be different for you, but compose in your head, just play around with it while you do something else. As long as it's something else that's not so difficult, it requires a lot of attention. So number 8, break things down into small parts. So like, what would the smallest possible thing I could do? So here's a great one for creative writing. You're supposed to write a chapter and your mind's drawing a blank. Well, what if you just said, fine, I'm not going to write out all the words for the chapter. I'm going to outline, I'm just going to create like a hook for the chapter. Like, what's the big problem? What's the setback? Or maybe I'm going to outline the chapter in 4 sentences. It doesn't have to be good, but I'm just going to write 4 sentences. So-and-so tried to do this. This happened, here's the consequences, and then here's the cliffhanger or something, right? Just write 4 sentences. So just like break it down into something smaller for marketing, right? I'm trying to do this with this video, actually. I was having a hard time finishing videos. I was getting tired. I've already filmed a couple today, and I wanted to get to 3, and I'm like, you know what? I have a few longer ones that I do want to get to in the queue, but I'm going to do a short one. I'm going to do a listicle today. Just 10 things. I'm not going to talk too much. It's not going to be 20 minutes. I'm running at 13. I'm going to still keep it short. Anyway, I'm trying to do this right now with this video. So, chapter 9. So, 9. Borrow a framework or formula from somebody else just to go get momentum. sometimes I think when you're stuck in a creative realm where anything can happen and your brain has to work at a really high level all the time, sometimes you can give your brain a break just by following instructions. And that's one of the reasons why I like some of these outlining frameworks. I have a video on outlining frameworks. They're a great way to just play around with ideas for a novel or for plot or for character without having to write it out in novel format. And so you can kind of test out your ideas without writing down the whole chapter. You don't have to stick to the outline. It just gets you thinking. It gets you warmed up. Another version of this that I kind of liked, that I did for myself a few years back for NaNoWriMo, was I created a list of 30 warm-up questions before I'd write. And so it wasn't a framework of what I would do, I was doing, but it would, it would dive into early on it would be like, who is the protagonist and what's their motivation? What's the obstacle they're running into and why is it hard for them? And then later on it's, how does their perception of the obstacle change? Who's helping them with the obstacle? After they've beaten it, what's next for them? You gotta have these kind of different things. And then I do that from other characters' perspective. What's the antagonist view on what's happening and the obstacles that they are presenting or facing with the protagonist, etc. So, it was fun to have that list of 30 questions just to get me going, and then answering a specific question rather than having to creatively write a chapter that evening for NaNoWriMo was really helpful and kind of got the momentum going. So if I answered that question, I was much more ready to write on command and write as much as I could for that hour than if I came in cold. So borrow a framework or formula or something that's just simple so your brain can take a rest from thinking about big open-ended questions, or at least think of smaller open-ended questions. And the other thing, this is an interesting one from Neil Gaiman. Number 10 is allow yourself to do nothing. So this is Neil Gaiman's approach to writing. So he has a time set aside, I think, for writing. It sounds like he kind of time boxes it. When he has his writing time, he doesn't have to write, but he's not allowed to do anything else. This is kind of like time boxing, but it's like super time boxing. And so he says he's not, so you're not allowed to, watch a YouTube video or do social media feed. He can kind of stare out the window and look at things. You can kind of sit there, but eventually, right, when your mind gets bored, it starts making stuff up. It sounds like he's intentionally leveraging boredom to break writer's block. So I haven't tried this one, but if it works for him, and I am a big fan of his writing, I think that's fascinating. So those are 10 ideas for getting unstuck for writer's block, whether that is in your book or marketing writing about your book. If you have tried these out, let me know how it goes below, or if you had items to add to the list, please comment below also. So thank you so much for watching, and see you next time on the Ubiquitous Tavern.